Hey there, starting to work on the wash station, and I'm a few weeks away from probably my first harvest, so I gotta get this done. And I always recommend that you take care of this before you have vegetables coming off the field, because then you're in trouble, because then the season starts and you don't have time for this. So it's gonna be very similar to the build I had before. I'll leave a link down below if you wanna check out the original build. It's a very old video. It's in fact one of my first few videos on this channel. But it's gonna be very similar here with a couple of tweaks. So let me show you some of those ideas before we get started on getting the plumbing done. Let's take a look at some of the main items here in the wash station. We have the greens bubbler here, which I had a 70 or 75 gallon tank before. This is 110 or 115, I can't remember. So a little bit bigger, which I think will be helpful for either larger batches or just having more room for the greens to move around and get cleaned a little bit better. I'm not gonna go into the details about this yet until we get this done, but yeah, just having a bigger tank I think will be great. Got the salad spin over here, and I made a whole video about that. I'll leave that down below as well for you to check out. And then over here, this is a new item. We have a double utility sink over here. I'm gonna use that for washing roots and also just general like cleaning out totes and stuff like that. So it's gonna be nice to have a little sink to be able to spray things out. And then over here, we have the dryer. So you guys have seen this before, and this is gonna be the one I had at Raleigh City Farm. So it's a triple or a 6 foot wide dryer with 3 fans, and so this will be great. So really the layout here is very tight, but also very streamlined. So I'm using only part of my garage here, and I need it to be very functional and really only being, you know, set up for one person to work in here. So while I'm in here, I can be able to do all these things at once. So this is the setup that we went with, and I think it's gonna be pretty good. Now we have to get all the plumbing done. So we're gonna work on the drainage so we can tie all this together into one main drain system, and then we'll work on the water system. Well, we're gonna start with the drainage here, and we had a similar system at Raleigh City Farm. We had one main drain pipe that connected everything. Everything kind of went into it and then flowed out as one main drain. So that main drain is gonna go right here. We're gonna use 2-inch pipe, and it's gonna go behind all of the washing stuff here, and everything will tie into that. So the sink, the salad spinner, and the bubbler will all tie into that and then go out of the garage. So if you guys remember, or you haven't seen the video, when we modified this washing machine, we took out the pump. So this is a gravity fed system. So what I did here is I'm gonna be using, this was the piece of tubing that went from the pump up to the top where you'd connect it if it was a normal washing machine. So it's got a nice fitting on already. I'm gonna put this on here, and this will take the water out and go into our system here. So what we're doing right now is we're just cutting the back of this to allow this to come out, and then we'll start building this, this main drain line over here. So to get the drain out of the back of the washing machine, we just cut out a section here to allow us to connect a hose from here out to the drain. And we're just kind of trying to piece together some of the tubing that came with it. This right here is the piece that would normally go from the pump up to the top section where you connect the drain out on a normal washing machine. So we just cut this, and this is the other piece that it came with, and we're gonna put these together and try to rig this up so it drains from here into the back main drain system. So we're gonna get this all put back together and start working on that back drain system. We hooked up all the plumbing and tested it, and we had a major issue. And there's always, you know, when you're making stuff up like this, you're gonna make mistakes. The issue here is that the greens bubbler has a 2-inch drain, which is fantastic because it'll allow the water to get out really quickly. And when you're trying to turn over the tank and set up for the next round, that's awesome to have a big drain. The problem here is that a lot of water comes out. And what happened was all the things were tied into the same drainage assembly behind me here. And when it started draining, it would push up this way, even though it's pitched slightly, and it started coming out of our open connections. This one here is where we connected the washing machine, and it had a 2-inch T here, like, you know, this is an elbow, but a T, and then the drain was going in it like this, which is great. It's nice and easy. The water can flow out. Problem is that the water started coming out of here when we were draining the tank. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put in hard connections here, and so this is a 2-inch by 3/4 inch, and then I got an elbow, and we're gonna hook up 3/4 inch line and then connect that over to a piece of that rubber tubing that I showed you before to the bottom of the washing machine. So that'll solve that. That'll keep that closed up. And then over here, this is where the drain from the wash sink goes into, and this is 1.5-inch pipe and 2-inch pipe. So we're gonna use a bushing here to tie that in together. Now the other thing here is that because it's gonna be all sealed up, we need a vent. And so we put one in over there too, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But also, I didn't want it to be pulling air through the sink because that would be the other option. So that's what we're gonna do. I think this should work out pretty well. And once we get all this hooked up, we're gonna start working on the drainage outside. And there's some things that I had to address here and get a little creative. All right, so just gonna show you guys what we did here. This is the utility sink with the drainage pipe coming down. This is the 1.5 inch to 2 inch bushing there. This over here is that 2 inch to 3/4, which the washing machine is gonna connect to. And then over here, we're definitely improvising, but this is the drainage tubing that it came with, and we just clamped it onto a piece of 3/4 inch PVC, and that's going to tie into the main drainage assembly in the back. So definitely improvising, but hopefully it should be good. Got a little bit more of the drainage done, and there's one big hurdle that we had to overcome and a big challenge, and that is the garage door and getting a drain through there. And I'll get to that in a second, but when you're looking for overcoming challenges and maybe ideas for solutions to problems you have, one thing is to look at other farmers and what they've done, and a great way to do that is by checking out today's show sponsor, which is Growing for Market magazine. They've been in existence for 30 years, and all the articles are written by farmers. They're super knowledgeable people that have tons of experience. You can get a print version of their magazine, also online, and they have an archive of 1,600 articles for you to check out. Go check them out. Coupon code SHOVEL, all lowercase, 25% off, and I want to thank them for sponsoring this channel. Now, with that problem set in mind here, we're going to talk about this issue right here of getting the water through the garage door. All right, so there's a couple of challenges here. One is I don't have a drain in my garage. There's no floor drain. There's not even a sink in here. I do have a hose bib here that I can get water into the wash station, but the drainage has always been a problem. And if you guys remember my previous setup, I had one of those flat lay hoses that connected to my drain, and then you know, the garage door would just close down on it. But I didn't want to have that for a few reasons. One is I'll show you in a second, but I needed to get the water to drain further away. I was just dumping it in my driveway, and it was rolling under my house into a garden bed and causing some troubles there. So this is the solution we came up with here. So this is the main drain line that everything connects to over here, and you guys can see where the garage door comes down right here. And so this is the main drain line going out, which I'll show you how that works too. And the solution I have is using this. This is just a piece of 2-inch pipe with 2 unions on here, and this just slides in here and tightens up. So when I need to do some washing, I open the door, put this in, and I can actually, if it's cold or hot outside and I need to keep the temperature in here a little bit better, I can just close it down to just right over there and just leave a little bit of gap. Seemed like the cleanest solution, and for setting things up and breaking things down, this is super easy to do versus moving pipes around and things like that. I didn't really want to dig a hole or put a hole through my garage door, through the wall, so this just seemed like the simplest solution. And again, this is going to drain really fast because this is all 2-inch pipe. Now, let me talk about where the water is going to exit out here and some of the things that we had to consider. All right, so the old system would just dump out water kind of right over here at the edge of the garage door and would spill it into the driveway and then down over here. And so I wanted to make sure we directed the water further away from the house and away from the garden here and at the front of my steps and stuff, because that was causing a problem, especially when you dump 60 gallons or 100 gallons of water at a time. So what I was trying to do was get the water further away. And so what we have here, hopefully you guys can see this line right here, and that runs along the side of the house. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna run the pipe under my front porch and away from the house on the back side. So that plumbing will have to get done tomorrow. We don't have all the parts, and the day's almost over here. So we'll get working on that tomorrow, and also more of the details inside in terms of the wash water and stuff like that. So we'll see you tomorrow. All right, it's the next day, and got a little bit more work done on the drainage system, and I'll show you guys that. We have it run out to behind the house like I talked about. We have the tank pulled out for a minute here, so I want to show you some of the plumbing that's going on here. We tested it, and it works awesome. We're not getting any leaks, and pretty happy with it. So this right here is where the bottom of the tank connects to and runs down this way. And then one feature that I want to point out here is we put a vent in, and so it's just tied in with a T down here, and we make sure that this is a little bit higher than the tank will be. So this helps a lot to get really smooth drainage. Vents are common in drain lines and houses and stuff, so we figured rather than it sucking air through the sink over there, we put a nice big 2-inch vent here. So man, it drains super fast. But I just want to show you this, how this is set up here, and then really the next step is we're going to start working on connecting up the water here and build a little manifold up here, so we're going to hook up hoses and everything. But before we get to that, let me show you where the drain line comes out on the back side of the house. I'm over here on the side of the house, and this is where the water's coming out. So this pipe runs under the porch along the ground and comes out here. And this is kind of a smaller flow here. This is just to show you guys it working, but when we test the greens bubbler, it comes out way faster. I mean, it's a lot more water. This is just a slower flow to show you And so what you can't see behind the camera is that it goes downhill down to that drainage creek, which I've talked about before, at the bottom of my property. And so all this water will get pushed away from the things that it caused damage to, like the front yard, the garden beds, the house. So all this water should make its way away and downhill that way. So this should be really good. Now I want to address something, because I know a lot of you guys are thinking, well, Josh, why don't you capture this water and why don't you use it in your gardens? I get this question asked to me all the time. It's about context. And for me, I don't have to worry about the water so much. I am not on city water. I have a private well, so I'm not paying for the water, first of all. Secondly, in my region here, we don't have issues with getting water. My well is fine. I have enough water. To me, it's not worth the time or money or infrastructure or stress to have another complicated system for capturing water. If you're in an area where water's super expensive, or you just can't get enough water, like if you're someplace out west where there's issues with that, totally makes sense. So for here, we're just gonna send the water out and not have to think about it. And that's my situation here. So really, really happy with this. It's working really nice. We got to work on now setting up the water coming up and into a manifold and going to all the different stuff in the wash station. So that's the next step. Got all the plumbing done for the water lines in here. And basically I have this manifold up here, which everything connects through, and the water comes from down there, and I'll show you that in a second. And then there's a water line that runs out and across, and we have a drop set up over there with a valve for another hose for the root station. So let me show you some of this stuff. You can see the tanks out of the way here. Let me show you what's going on. So the hose bib is down there, and we have a couple of adapters there to convert that over to PEX. PEX runs up here to this manifold, and had a manifold similar to this at Raleigh City Farm. So the one on the left will be to fill the tank. The one in the middle will be a hose to spray out the tank, and then the one on the right runs out and over to this here. This is going to be the drop for the root station, so I'll have a valve there too. Everything's pretty much set in here. I'm really happy about it. The layout's good, the drainage is working, all the water's installed. So pretty much most of it is ready to go. I got some more things to work out with the bubbler, so until then I'm going to leave out on a lot of the details. So I'll get to that when I get it finished. I'll show you guys. Really happy to have the root washing station and the triple fan drying screen and the bigger tub, all things that are going to make the wash station more efficient and save time. I really focus on the little things that add up over time, and so if you could save 20 or 30 minutes on every wash day, that adds up to a lot over the course of a season. So I think those things are important. I will make a separate video once this is all up and running, and I'll demonstrate washing some veggies in here so you can see how everything works, and I'll hopefully have everything sorted out in terms of all the kinks and everything, so it should be a really nice example for you guys to see. But I wanted today to really show you how we took an idea about the plumbing, had some obstacles that we went through, and then worked through that. And one other thing I forgot to mention is it's important that the washing machine has a flexible hose that goes from the basin to the hard plumbing, because the basin actually moves around a little bit. So keep that in mind. You can't really hard plumb that. You need to have that flexible piece in there that makes that work. But anyways, I want to thank again today's show sponsor, Growing for Market. Links down below along with that coupon code. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you in the next one. Hey there, starting to work on the wash station, and I have a double wash station. Let's take a look at some of the items here in the wash station. Let's take a look at some of the main. Got more of the drainage done, and there's a really tricky bit because I have a garage door here. I'll get to that in a second. All right, it's the next day, and we did a little bit more plumbing on the drainage system here, and we have it all run out, and I'll show you guys that out to. So I'll make a separate video once I get this all up and running, and I'll show myself.